The air crackled with the scent of barbecue and betrayal. Alex Carter stood frozen, his hand gripping Jamie's so tightly his knuckles whitened. As his father's voice boomed across the backyard, "You're no son of mine." In that moment, the fairy lights strung above the family party seemed to dim, and the world tilted under Alex's feet. It was supposed to be a celebration. The Carter family's annual summer reunion in their sprawling Virginia backyard had always been a highlight, kids chasing fireflies, ants gossiping over lemonade, and the clink of beer bottles under a starlit sky. This year, Alex, 26, had arrived with a secret he could no longer keep, and the love of his life by his side. Jamie Ellis, his boyfriend of 2 years, stood tall beside him, his warm hazel eyes scanning the crowd for a hint of acceptance. They prepared for this, rehearsed their words, but nothing could brace them for the storm about to break. Alex had grown up in this house, a red brick colonial nestled in the suburbs of Richmond. Every corner held memories, learning to ride a bike in the driveway, sneaking cookies from the kitchen with his sister, Lily. But it also held the weight of his father's expectations. John Carter, a retired Marine with a voice like gravel and a worldview chiseled in stone. Alex had spent years dodging questions about girlfriends, hiding who he was to keep the peace. When he met Jamie, a graphic designer with a quick laugh and a heart that felt like home, everything changed. For the first time, Alex wanted to be seen. They'd arrived at the party late, the sun dipping low, casting golden streaks across the lawn. Alex wore a navy blazer, hoping it screamed respectable enough to soften the blow. Jamie, in a soft gray sweater, had squeezed his hand as they stepped out of the car. "We've got this," Jamie whispered, his voice steady despite the nervous flutter in his chest. Alex nodded, but his stomach churned. His mother, Ellen, greeted them with a warm hug, her eyes lingering on Jamie with a mix of curiosity and caution. His sister, Lily, 22 and fiercely loyal, gave them a thumbs up from across the yard. But John Carter's handshake was curt, his gaze sliding past Jamie like he was invisible. The evening unfolded with painful normalcy. Cousins played cornhole, uncles debated politics, and the smell of grilled burgers filled the air. Alex and Jamie stuck close, exchanging small smiles, their hands brushing occasionally. Alex caught snippets of conversation as aunts whispered, "Who's the guy with Alex?" And his cousins, they seemed close. He felt the weight of every glance, every pause. Still, he held on to hope. Maybe his family would surprise him. Maybe love would be enough. As the night deepened, Ellen called for a toast. The family gathered in a loose circle, glasses raised, the hum of cicadas in the background. Alex felt Jamie's hand slip into his, a silent anchor. This was the moment they'd planned. Alex cleared his throat, his voice trembling but resolute. "I want to thank you all for being here," he began, his eyes sweeping the crowd. "This family means everything to me. And there's someone I want you to meet, someone who's changed my life." He turned to Jamie, whose smile was a beacon in the gathering dusk. "This is Jamie, my boyfriend. We've been together for 2 years, and I love him." The words hung in the air, raw and real. For a heartbeat, there was silence. Lily beamed, clapping softly. Ellen's eyes glistened, her hand reaching for Alex's. But then John stepped forward, his face a mask of fury. "You think you can bring this into my house?" he roared, his voice cutting through the night. "You're no son of mine if this is who you are." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Jamie stiffened, but Alex held his hand tighter, refusing to let go. Ellen's face crumpled, her voice lost in the chaos. Lily shouted, "Dad, stop." But John's words kept coming, each one a dagger. "You're a disgrace. Get out." The backyard fell silent, the fairy lights swaying in the breeze. Alex's heart pounded, his vision blurring with tears. Jamie's hand was the only thing keeping him upright. He wanted to scream, to fight, to make his father see him. But the weight of those words, disgrace, outcrushed him. This was his family, his home, and in one moment, it had all unraveled. As they stumbled toward the car, Jamie's arm around him, Alex heard Lily's voice calling after them. She caught up, her face streaked with tears. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, hugging them both. "I'm with you. Always." Ellen appeared behind her, torn between her son and her husband, her silence louder than any words. Alex didn't look back at the house. He couldn't bear to see his father's shadow in the doorway. In the car, Jamie drove, his jaw tight, his hand resting on Alex's knee. "We're going to be okay," he said softly, but Alex wasn't sure. The road stretched dark and endless before them, and all he could feel was the ache of a family lost and the flicker of something stronger, something worth fighting for, sitting right beside him. The city lights of Richmond blurred past the car windows, each one a fleeting reminder of a world that felt both familiar and foreign now. Alex stared out, his chest tight, replaying his father's words, "You're no son of mine." Jamie's hand on his knee was warm, steady, but it couldn't erase the raw wound left by the night. They pulled into the parking lot of their small apartment downtown, a cozy third-floor unit filled with Jamie's sketches and Alex's books. Inside, the silence was heavy. Jamie flicked on a lamp, casting soft light across the room, and turned to Alex. "Talk to me," he said, his voice gentle but firm. Alex sank onto the couch, his head in his hands. I thought maybe he'd listen. Maybe he'd see us." His voice cracked, and Jamie sat beside him, pulling him close. "He might. One day," Jamie said, though his tone held more hope than certainty. "But tonight wasn't about him. It was about you being true to yourself." Alex wanted to believe him, but the weight of his father's rejection clung like damp fog. He thought of his childhood, of John teaching him to throw a baseball, his gruff pride when Alex made the varsity team. Those moments felt like relics now, buried under the venom of that toast. Jamie stood, grabbing 2 beers from the fridge, and handed one to Alex. "We don't have to figure it all out tonight," he said, "but we're in this together. Okay." The next morning, Alex woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of Jamie humming in the kitchen. Sunlight streamed through the window, and for a moment, the world felt softer. Jamie slid a mug across the counter, his eyes searching Alex's. "Lily texted," he said. "She wants to meet up." Alex nodded, a flicker of warmth breaking through the haze. His sister had always been his anchor, the one who'd sneak him extra dessert when their parents weren't looking, who'd listen when he first confessed he might be gay. They met Lily at a small cafe near the James River, its patio buzzing with brunchgoers. She was already there, her auburn hair catching the light, her expression fierce. "I'm so pissed at Dad," she said as soon as they sat down, her voice low but sharp. "He had no right to do that to you. To both of you." She reached across the table, squeezing Alex's hand, then Jamie's. "You guys are my family, no matter what he says." Alex felt a lump in his throat. "I don't know what to do now," he admitted. Mom didn't say anything. She just stood there. Lily's face softened. "She's scared. Alex. Dad's been her world for 30 years. But she loves you. Give her time." Jamie leaned forward, his voice steady. "What about you, Lily? You're still living at home. Is this going to be okay for you?" She shrugged, a defiant glint in her eye. "I'm moving out next month. Got a job in D.C. And I'm not letting Dad's crap dictate my life." The conversation shifted to lighter things: Lily's new job, Jamie's latest design project, but Alex's mind kept drifting. He thought of the family photo on the mantle, him and Lily grinning as kids, their parents behind them. Would he ever be part of that picture again? As they left the cafe, Lily hugged them both tightly. "You're not alone," she whispered. "Don't forget that." Back at the apartment, Alex's phone buzzed with a text from his mother. "Can we talk? Just you and me." His heart leapt, then sank. He showed Jamie, who nodded encouragingly. "Go. Hear her out." They arranged to meet at a park near the house, a quiet spot with a bench overlooking a pond. Ellen was already there when Alex arrived, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. She looked smaller, fragile, her eyes red-rimmed. "I'm sorry about last night," she said as he sat down, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't know what to say. Your father, he's so angry. Alex." Alex swallowed hard. "Did you know? About me?" She nodded slowly. "I suspected. A mother knows. But I didn't want to push you." Her words were soft, but they carried a weight of regret. "I love you, Alex. But your father's not ready. I don't know if he ever will be." Alex's chest ached. "And you? Are you ready?" Ellen's eyes filled with tears. "I want to be. I want to understand. But I need time." She reached for his hand, and he let her take it, though it felt like a fragile bridge between them. "Tell me about Jamie," she said, a small smile breaking through. "He seems kind." Alex's voice softened as he spoke, telling her about Jamie's laugh, his art, the way he made every day brighter. For the first time, he felt his mother truly listening. As they parted, Ellen hugged him tightly. "I'll talk to your father," she promised. "But you need to live your life, Alex. Don't wait for him." He nodded, but as he walked away, the uncertainty lingered. Could his mother bridge the gap? Or was this fracture permanent? Back home, Jamie was waiting, his presence a quiet strength. They cooked dinner together, the rhythm of chopping vegetables and stirring sauce grounding Alex. As they sat down to eat, Jamie raised his glass. "To us," he said, his eyes locking with Alex's. And to whatever comes next. The days after the park meeting blurred into a tense routine. Alex went through the motions at his marketing job, his mind replaying the party, his father's words, his mother's hesitant hope. Jamie, sensing the storm inside him, filled their evenings with small acts of love, cooking Alex's favorite pasta, leaving post-it notes with silly doodles on the fridge. But the weight of the family fracture lingered, a shadow Alex couldn't shake. One evening, as they binge-watched a sitcom, Alex's phone lit up with an email from his cousin, Sarah, who'd been at the party. "I'm sorry about Uncle John." It read. "What he said was awful. I'm here if you need to talk." Alex stared at the screen, surprised. Sarah, a quiet librarian in her 30s, had always stayed on the fringes of family drama. Her words felt like a lifeline, small but real. He showed Jamie, who smiled. "See, not everyone's against us." Alex nodded, but doubt gnawed at him. One cousin's support didn't erase his father's rejection. At work, Alex's colleague, Mia, noticed his distraction. Over coffee in the break room, she prodded gently. "You've been off. Carter. Spill it." Alex hesitated, then told her about the party, the toast, the disowning. Mia, a no-nonsense single mom, listened intently. "That's rough," she said when he finished. "But you've got Jamie, right? And your sister. That's more than some people get." She paused, stirring her coffee. "My brother came out 10 years ago. My parents flipped, but they came around. It's not over. Alex." Her words stuck with him, a reminder that time could shift things, even if it felt impossible now. That night, he and Jamie went to a local LGBTQ+ community event, a fundraiser at a downtown bar. The room buzzed with laughter, music, and stories of resilience. Alex felt a spark of belonging, watching couples dance, friends toast, and strangers share knowing smiles. Jamie, ever the social butterfly, chatted with a drag performer, his laughter cutting through the noise. Alex watched him, heart swelling. This was why he'd taken the risk to live openly, to love without hiding. But the warmth of the night faded when Alex got a call from Lily the next day. "Dad's been ranting," she said, her voice tight. "He's telling everyone you chose this, like it's some rebellion. He's even talking about cutting you out of the will." Alex's stomach dropped. "What about Mom?" he asked. Lily sighed. "She's trying to calm him down, but he's not listening." "I'm worried." "Alex." He's digging in." The news hit like a punch. Alex had never cared about the money. His parents weren't wealthy, but the idea of being erased from his father's life so completely stung. He told Jamie, who pulled him into a hug. "He's lashing out because he's scared," Jamie said. "He doesn't know how to handle this." "But that's his problem, not yours." Alex nodded, but the words felt hollow. He wanted his father to see him, not as a disappointment, but as the son he'd raised. Determined to move forward, Alex and Jamie decided to host a small dinner at their apartment, inviting Lily, Sarah, and Mia. It was a chance to build their own family, one rooted in acceptance. The night was warm, filled with laughter and wine, Lily teasing Jamie about his terrible taste in music, Sarah sharing stories of her library's queer book club. Mia brought her teenage son, who shyly asked Jamie about his art. For the first time since the party, Alex felt whole, surrounded by people who chose him. But the peace was short-lived. Late that night, Alex's phone buzzed with a voicemail from his father. "We need to talk." John's voice growled. Man to man. No one else. Alex's heart raced. He played the message for Jamie, who frowned. "It sounds like a trap. You don't have to go." But Alex shook his head. "I need to face him. If there's any chance." His voice trailed off, hope and fear tangling inside him. They met at a diner on the edge of town, a neutral ground with chipped mugs and flickering neon signs. John sat in a corner booth, his posture rigid, his eyes cold. Alex slid in across from him, his hands trembling. "I'm not here to apologize," John said bluntly. "What you did at the party was disrespectful. You knew how I'd feel." Alex's jaw tightened. "I wasn't disrespecting you. I was being honest. I love Jamie. That's not going to change." John's face hardened. "You're throwing away your family for this lifestyle." The word cut deep, but Alex held his ground. "I'm not throwing anything away. You're the one pushing me out." For a moment, John's eyes flickered, a crack in his armor. But he shook his head. "You made your choice. Don't expect me to celebrate it." He stood, tossing a few bills on the table, and walked out. Alex sat there, the diner's hum fading to white noise. He felt like a kid again, waiting for his father's approval, knowing it might never come. But as he drove home, Jamie's words echoed, "That's his problem, not yours." For the first time, Alex started to believe it. He wasn't alone. He had Jamie, Lily, Sarah, MIAA family he was building, piece by piece, stronger than the one he'd lost. The diner meeting left Alex raw, but it also lit a fire in him. He wasn't going to beg for his father's approval anymore. Back at the apartment, Jamie was waiting, sketching at the kitchen table, his brow furrowed in concentration. When Alex told him about the conversation, Jamie set down his pencil and pulled him close. "You stood up to him," he said, his voice warm with pride. "That's huge." Alex managed a small smile, but the ache of his father's words lingered like a bruise. Over the next week, Alex threw himself into work, pitching a new campaign for a local nonprofit. The project, focused on community inclusivity, felt personal. He channeled his frustration into it, crafting messages about belonging that he wished his father could hear. Jamie noticed the shift, teasing him gently one night as they washed dishes. "You're turning into an activist," he said, flicking soap suds at Alex. "I like it." Alex laughed, the sound lighter than he'd felt in weeks. But the past kept creeping in. One afternoon, Alex got a call from his mother. "Your father's been talking to Pastor Mike," she said, her voice hesitant. "He thinks maybe counseling could fix this." Alex's blood ran cold. "Fix me?" he snapped. "There's nothing wrong with me." Ellen backtracked quickly. "I told him it's a bad idea. I just thought you should know." Alex hung up, his hands shaking. Jamie, who'd overheard, wrapped his arms around him. "They don't get to define you. he said fiercely. You're enough. The idea of fixing him gnawed Alex, stirring memories of high school, when he'd buried his feelings under football practice and fake crushes. He'd come so far since then, but his father's refusal to see him felt like a step back. Determined to reclaim his ground, Alex signed up for a local LGBTQ+ advocacy group's workshop. The sessions, held in a community center, were filled with stories of struggle and triumph. Alex listened to a trans woman share her journey, a gay couple talk about adopting, and felt a spark of purpose. He wasn't just fighting for himself, was part of something bigger. Jamie joined him at the next session, his sketchbook in hand, doodling portraits of the speakers. Afterward, they grabbed coffee with a few attendees, swapping stories. One man, a teacher named Marcus, shared how his family had cut him off decades ago. It hurts, he said, his voice steady. But you build a new family, the one that chooses you. His words hit Alex hard, echoing the dinner they'd hosted. Maybe he didn't need his father's approval to be whole. Back home, Alex got a text from Sarah, inviting them to a book club meeting at her library. It was focused on queer literature, and she thought they'd enjoy it. The small room was packed with readers, young and old, discussing a novel about love and loss. Alex felt a pang, thinking of his own loss, but the group's warmth pulled him in. Jamie, ever the artist, sketched the scene, capturing the animated faces. Sarah leaned over, whispering, I'm glad you're here. Alex nodded, grateful for her quiet support. But the tension with his father wasn't done resurfacing. Lily called one evening, her voice shaking. Dad's been talking to his old Marine buddies, she said. They're egging him on, saying you're disrespecting his values. He's planning some big family meeting to set things straight. Alex's heart sank. A meeting. It sounded like another ambush. He told Jamie, who frowned. You don't have to go. You don't owe him anything. But Alex wasn't sure. Part of him wanted to face his father again, to prove he wasn't broken. The meeting was set for the following weekend at the Carter house. Alex and Jamie debated whether to attend, weighing the risk of more pain against the slim chance of progress. Lily promised to be there, and Ellen texted, I'll make sure it's civil. Against his better judgment, Alex agreed to go, but only with Jamie by his side. We do this together, he said, squeezing Jamie's hand. Jamie nodded, his eyes fierce. Always. The day of the meeting arrived, heavy with clouds and the threat of rain. The Carter living room felt smaller than Alex remembered, the air thick with tension. John sat at the head of the table, his face unreadable. Ellen hovered nearby, her hands twisting a dish towel. Lily sat across from Alex and Jamie, her jaw set. A few relatives, uncles, aunts, cousins filled the room, their expressions a mix of curiosity and discomfort. John started, his voice low but firm. This family's built on values. Respect. Tradition. Faith. Alex, you've turned your back on that. Alex's pulse raced, but he met his father's gaze. I haven't turned my back on anything. I'm living my truth. Jamie's my family now. John's eyes narrowed, but before he could respond, Ellen spoke up, her voice trembling. John, he's our son. We don't get to choose who he loves. The room went quiet. Every eye on her. For the first time, Alex saw his mother take a stand. Fragile but real. John's face reddened. But he didn't shout. Instead, he leaned back, his silence louder than any words. Lily jumped in, her voice sharp. Dad, you're the one tearing this family apart. Not Alex. The room erupted in murmurs. Some supportive, some defensive. Alex felt Jamie's hand under the table, steadying him. This wasn't reconciliation, but it was a crack in the wall. Maybe, just maybe, there was hope. The family meeting left Alex drained but strangely hopeful. His mother's words, "We don't get to choose who he loves," echoed in his mind as he and Jamie drove back to their apartment. The rain had started, soft at first, then a steady drum against the windshield. Jamie reached for his hand, his thumb tracing small circles. "Your mom surprised me," he said quietly. "She's trying." Alex nodded, his throat tight. "Yeah. But Dad, I don't know if he'll ever change." Back home, they curled up on the couch, the patter of rain outside a soothing backdrop. Alex felt the weight of the day lift slightly, replaced by the warmth of Jamie's presence. They talked late into the night, not about the meeting, but about their future dreams of traveling, maybe getting a dog, building a life that was theirs. For the first time, Alex let himself imagine a world where his father's approval wasn't the center. The next morning, Alex woke to a text from Lily. "Mom's been talking to Dad nonstop. He's not budging, but she's not giving up." It was a small spark, but it fueled him. At work, he threw himself into the inclusivity campaign, presenting it to his team with a passion that surprised even him. His boss, a gruff but fair woman named Carla, pulled him aside after. "This is personal for you, isn't it?" she asked. Alex nodded, hesitant. "Good," she said. "That's what makes it real. Keep going." The campaign's launch was set for a community festival, and Alex invited Lily, Sarah, and Mia to join. Jamie designed the event's posters, vibrant and bold, with slogans like "Love builds bridges." The festival was a whirlwind of music, food trucks, and rainbow flags, and Alex felt a surge of pride watching people engage with his work. Lily snapped photos. Sarah handed out flyers, and Mia's son ran around with a rainbow sticker on his cheek. Jamie caught Alex's eye across the crowd, his smile brighter than the summer sun. But the high was tempered by a call from Ellen that evening. "Your father's going to therapy," she said, her voice cautious. "Not for you. Not yet. For himself." Pastor Mike suggested it. Alex's heart twisted, hope and skepticism warring inside him. "Is he going to try to fix me again?" he asked. Ellen sighed. "I don't think so. He's struggling. He doesn't know how to let go of his beliefs, but he's starting to see how much this is costing him." Alex didn't know what to feel. Therapy was a step, but it felt like a step for his father, not for them. He told Jamie, who listened quietly, then said, "Maybe this is his way of trying. It's not enough, but it's something." Alex nodded, but the uncertainty gnawed at him. He wanted more than a grudging acknowledgement, wanted his father to see him, to love him as he was. Determined to focus on what he could control, Alex dove deeper into the advocacy group. He and Jamie attended a panel on family reconciliation, led by a counselor who'd worked with queer youth for decades. Her words struck a chord. Sometimes, family comes around. Sometimes, they don't. But your worth isn't tied to their acceptance. Alex felt the truth of it settle in his bones. He wasn't waiting for his father anymore, was living. That weekend, they hosted another dinner, this time inviting Marcus from the advocacy group and his partner, Tom. The evening was filled with stories Marcus's journey, Tom's work as a nurse, Jamie's latest art project. Lily brought a homemade pie, her laughter filling the room as she teased Alex about his terrible baking skills. Sarah shared news of a grant for her library's queer programs, her quiet pride infectious. As they ate, Alex looked around, his heart full. This was his family, not bound by blood but by choice. The next day, Alex got an unexpected email from his uncle, Dave, one of the relatives at the family meeting. I didn't say much that day. It read, "But I've been thinking. What your dad did wasn't right. I'd like to get to know you and Jamie better." Alex stared at the words, stunned. Dave, a reserved mechanic who rarely spoke at family events, was reaching out. He showed Jamie, who grinned. Another crack in the wall, he said. They met Dave for coffee at a small shop near his garage. He was awkward at first, fidgeting with his mug, but his questions were genuine. "How'd you two meet?" he asked. Alex told the story, bumping into Jamie at an art gallery, spilling wine on his shoes, laughing until they couldn't breathe. Dave chuckled, his shoulders relaxing. "You seem happy," he said simply. It wasn't a grand gesture, but it was enough. As they left, Alex felt lighter. His father's shadow still loomed, but it was shrinking, overshadowed by the people who chose to stand with him. Back home, Jamie pulled him into a slow dance in their living room. No music, just the rhythm of their breathing. "We're building something good," Jamie whispered. Alex nodded, his cheek against Jamie's. For the first time, he believed it, truly believed it. The road ahead was uncertain, but they were walking it together, and that was enough. The summer faded into fall, the Richmond air turning crisp, leaves piling along the streets. Alex and Jamie settled into a rhythm, their life together a quiet rebellion against the pain of the family party. Alex's work on the inclusivity campaign earned him a promotion, and Jamie's freelance designs were gaining traction, with a local gallery offering him a solo show. But the shadow of John Carter lingered, a wound that hadn't fully healed. One evening, as they carved pumpkins on their balcony, Alex's phone buzzed with a text from Ellen. "Your father wants to see you." "No meeting. Just you two. He's been quiet lately. I think he's ready to talk." Alex's heart thudded. He showed Jamie, who set down his knife, his face cautious. "What do you want to do?" he asked. Alex stared at the pumpkin's jagged grin. "Torn. I don't know. I want to believe he's changing." "But," Jamie nodded, understanding the unspoken fear. "Whatever you decide, I'm here." Alex agreed to meet John at the same diner, the neon sign still flickering in the dusk. This time, John looked older, his shoulders slumped, his eyes tired. They sat in silence for a moment, the clatter of dishes filling the gap. "I've been talking to the therapist," John finally said, his voice low. He's making me think about things. About you. Alex's breath caught. What about me? He asked, bracing himself. John shifted. Uncomfortable. I was raised to believe certain things. Right and wrong. Black and white. You being who you are. It challenges all that. He paused, staring at his coffee. I don't understand it, Alex. But I don't want to lose you. The words were halting, raw, but they hit Alex like a wave. It wasn't acceptance. Not fully. But it was the closest his father had ever come. I'm not asking you to understand, Alex said, his voice steady. I'm asking you to see me. To see Jamie. We're not a threat to your values. John nodded slowly, his jaw tight. I'm trying, he said. Your mother, she's been on me about it. Says I'm pushing you away for nothing. Alex's chest ached. Nothing. Was that what his father thought of his love for Jamie? They didn't hug. Didn't resolve everything. But as John stood to leave, he paused. Come to Thanksgiving, he said gruffly. Both of you. Alex blinked, stunned. We'll see, he managed, his mind racing. Back home, he told Jamie, who raised an eyebrow. Thanksgiving. With your dad. That's bold. Alex laughed, the sound shaky. Yeah. I don't know if we're ready for that. The idea of Thanksgiving loomed, a mix of hope and dread. Alex and Jamie talked it over for days, weighing the risks. Lily, now settled in D.C., called to weigh in. Go, she urged. Mom's working on him, and I'll be there to back you up. Sarah and Dave sent supportive texts, promising to come too. Even Mia offered to bring her famous pecan pie if they needed an extra ally. The thought of facing his father again, in the same house where he'd been disowned, made Alex's stomach twist. But the support around him felt like armor. As the holiday approached, Alex and Jamie prepared like they were going into battle. They baked a pumpkin bread Jamie's recipe. Alex's clumsy helphand rehearsed how to handle any tension. The drive to the Carter house was quiet. The autumn trees a blur of red and gold. When they arrived, Ellen greeted them at the door, her hug fierce and tearful. I'm so glad you're here, she whispered. Lily was next, pulling them into the kitchen, where Sarah and Dave were setting the table, their smiles warm. John was in the living room, watching football, his expression guarded. He nodded at Alex and Jamie, a small gesture, but enough to keep the air from suffocating. The dinner was tense at first, conversation sticking to safe topics: weather, food, Lily's new job. But as the meal went on, the mood softened. Sarah shared a story about a library patron who'd found solace in a queer novel. And Dave chimed in about a coworker who'd come out recently. John stayed quiet, but he listened, his eyes flicking to Alex and Jamie. After dessert, Ellen raised her glass for a toast. To family, she said, her voice steady. To love, in all its forms. Alex's heart swelled, and he caught his father's eye. John didn't smile, but he raised his glass, a silent acknowledgement. It wasn't a victory, but it was a step. As they cleared the table, John approached Alex, his voice low. I don't get it yet, he said. But I'm here. Alex nodded, his throat tight. That's enough for now. Driving home, Jamie reached for Alex's hand. We did it, he said, his voice soft but triumphant. Alex smiled, the weight of the past months lifting slightly. The road ahead was still long, but they'd faced the worst and come out stronger. In the quiet of the car, with Jamie's hand in his, Alex felt something new, peace. Fragile but real, settling into his bones. Thanksgiving left Alex with a cautious hope, like a seedling breaking through cracked soil. He and Jamie returned to their routine, but the memory of his father's grudging acknowledgement lingered. It wasn't love. Not yet. But it was a door left ajar. Alex clung to that, even as winter settled over Richmond, blanketing the city in frost. Work kept Alex busy. His campaign, now a citywide initiative. He spent late nights refining ads, meeting with community leaders, and speaking at events. The advocacy group became a second home, where he and Jamie volunteered, helping plan a youth outreach program. One evening, a shy teenager named Riley approached Alex after a workshop, confessing he was scared to come out to his parents. Alex listened, sharing his own story, and saw the boy's eyes light up with hope. You're doing okay, right? Riley asked. Alex smiled. More than okay. It was true he was building a life he was proud of. Jamie's gallery show was the highlight of December. The small venue buzzed with art lovers, friends, and even Lily, who'd driven down from D.C. Jamie's pieces, vibrant abstracts mixed with tender portraits of Alex, drew gasps and whispers. Alex stood in the corner, watching Jamie work the room, his confidence magnetic. When Jamie dedicated the show to the man who makes every day a masterpiece, Alex's cheeks burned, but his heart soared. Lily nudged him, grinning. You two are gross. I love it. But the glow of the show dimmed when Alex got a call from Ellen a few days later. Your father's struggling again, she said. Therapy's digging up old wounds, his dad, his upbringing. He's not angry, just lost. Alex's stomach tightened. He'd hoped Thanksgiving was a turning point, but now it felt like a pause. Does he want to see me? Alex asked. Ellen hesitated. Not yet. But he talks about you. That's something. The news unsettled Alex, but he refused to let it derail him. He and Jamie threw themselves into holiday plans, hosting a Christmas party for their chosen family. Sarah brought her girlfriend, a surprise that made Alex cheer. Mia and her son arrived with cookies, and Marcus and Tom shared stories of their own holiday traditions. Lily, in town for the week, helped decorate, stringing lights around the apartment. The night was loud, warm, and messy, everything Alex had once thought a family gathering should be. On Christmas Eve, Alex and Jamie exchanged gifts in the quiet of their living room. Jamie gave Alex a sketchbook filled with drawings of their life together moments from the park, the festival, even the diner. Alex gave Jamie a silver ring, simple but engraved with their initials. It's not a proposal, Alex said, blushing. Just a promise. Jamie slipped it on, his eyes shining. Best promise I've ever gotten. The new year brought a fresh challenge. Alex's campaign was invited to present at a regional conference. a chance to expand its reach. But the event was in Norfolk, near his parents' house, and Ellen suggested they visit after. Jamie was hesitant. "Are you sure you're ready to see your dad again?" he asked. Alex nodded, though his heart wasn't as certain. "I need to know where we stand." The conference was a success, Alex's speech earning applause from a packed room. Jamie sat in the front row, his proud smile grounding Alex. Afterward, they drove to the Carter house, the air heavy with anticipation. Ellen greeted them warmly, but John was in the garage, tinkering with an old radio. Alex found him there, the smell of oil and metal sharp in the air. "Hey," Alex said, his voice tentative. John looked up, wiping his hands on a rag. "Hey." The conversation was slow, halting. John admitted therapy was hard, forcing him to question beliefs he'd held for decades. "I don't know if I'll ever fully get it," he said, his eyes on the floor. "But I don't want you gone from my life." Alex's throat tightened. "I don't want that either. But I need you to see Jamie, too. He's not going anywhere." John nodded, a small gesture, but it felt like a mountain moving. They didn't stay long, but as they left, John shook Jamie's hand for the first time, his grip firm but not hostile. In the car, Jamie let out a breath. "That was something." Alex laughed, the sound shaky but real. "Yeah. Progress, I guess." They drove back to Richmond, the winter stars bright above them, and Alex felt a shift. His father wasn't there yet, but he was trying, and that was more than Alex had dared hope for months ago. Back home, they curled up with hot cocoa, the city quiet outside. Alex traced the ring on Jamie's finger, feeling the weight of their journey. They'd faced rejection, fought for their place, and built something stronger. "We're going to be okay," Alex said, his voice soft but certain. Jamie kissed his forehead. "Better than okay." And in that moment, with the world hushed and their hands entwined, Alex knew it was true. Winter melted into spring, the Richmond skyline blooming with new life. Alex and Jamie's apartment became a hub of plans, wedding ideas whispered over breakfast, dreams of a house with a yard. The advocacy group grew, with Alex leading workshops and Jamie designing their new logo. Their chosen family expanded, too, with Sarah and her girlfriend joining Sunday brunches, and Mia's son asking to shadow Jamie at his studio. But the question of John Carter hung over them, a quiet tension beneath their joy. One April morning, Ellen called with news. "Your father wants to have you and Jamie over for dinner," she said, her voice bright but nervous. "Just us four. No big family thing." Alex's heart raced. He glanced at Jamie, who was sketching at the table, and relayed the invitation. Jamie set down his pencil, his eyes searching Alex's. "You think he's ready?" he asked. Alex shrugged, hope and fear tangling. Only one way to find out. They arrived at the Carter house on a warm evening, the air thick with the scent of blooming dogwoods. Ellen's hug was fierce, her smile wide as she greeted Jamie by name. John stood in the doorway, his posture stiff but his eyes softer than Alex remembered. Dinner was simple: roast chicken, mashed potatoes, Ellen's famous green beans, but the conversation was careful, tiptoeing around the past. John asked Jamie about his art, his voice gruff but curious. Jamie answered with his usual warmth, describing his latest project, a mural for the community center. As they ate, Alex watched his father, searching for signs of the man who'd disowned him. John was quieter, less certain, his questions halting but genuine. When Ellen brought out dessert, she nudged John, who cleared his throat. "I've been thinking," he said, his hands clasped tightly. "What I did at the party, it was wrong. I was angry, scared. I didn't know how to handle it." Alex's breath caught, his fork frozen midair. Jamie's hand found his under the table. "I'm not saying I understand everything," John continued, his voice low. "But I see you, Alex. I see how you look at Jamie, how he looks at you. That's real." The words were simple, but they carried a weight years in the making. Alex's eyes burned, and he squeezed Jamie's hand. "Thank you," he managed, his voice thick. Ellen's eyes glistened, and she reached for John's hand, a silent thank you of her own. The rest of the dinner passed in a blur of small talk and cautious laughter. As they said goodbye, John pulled Alex into a hug, brief but firm. "You're still my son," he said gruffly. He turned to Jamie, extending a hand. "And you're welcome here." Jamie shook it, his smile steady. In the car, Alex let out a shaky breath, tears spilling over. Jamie pulled him close, kissing his temple. "We made it," he whispered. The months that followed were a slow knitting together of wounds. John wasn't perfect. He stumbled over words, sometimes fell silent when the conversation veered too far into uncharted territory. But he showed up. He came to Jamie's mural unveiling, standing awkwardly among the crowd, clapping when it was done. He called Alex to ask about his campaign, his voice gruff but engaged. Ellen, emboldened by John's shift, joined the advocacy group's family support sessions, her presence a quiet apology for her earlier silence. By summer, Alex and Jamie decided to take a leap. They got engaged, a quiet moment on a rooftop overlooking the James River, Jamie slipping a ring onto Alex's finger as the sun set. The proposal wasn't grand, but it was theirs, sealed with laughter and tears. They told their chosen family. First, Lily screamed with joy. Sarah planned a book-themed engagement party, and Mia offered to bake the wedding cake. When Alex told his parents, Ellen cried, hugging them both, while John managed a nod and a quiet "Congratulations." The wedding was set for the following spring, a small affair in a Richmond park. Planning it became a celebration of their community. Marcus and Tom offered to officiate. Lily insisted on being the ring bearer, and Sarah curated a playlist of queer anthems. John and Ellen agreed to come, and though Alex braced for awkwardness, he felt a quiet certainty. This was his life, his love, and he was no longer hiding. On the wedding day, the park glowed with fairy lights, echoing the night that had torn them apart but also set them free. Alex stood at the altar, Jamie beside him, their hands entwined. John sat in the front row, his face unreadable but present. As they exchanged vows, Alex's voice trembled with love, not fear. "You're my home," he told Jamie, and the crowd cheered. Lily's whooped the loudest. The reception was a burst of joy dancing, toasts, Mia's cake towering over the tables. John approached them late in the evening, a glass of champagne in hand. "I'm proud of you," he said to Alex, his voice rough but sincere. "Both of you." It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. As Alex and Jamie danced under the stars, the weight of the past fell away, replaced by a future they'd built together flawed, beautiful, and theirs.